Why UK landlords and overseas investors still prefer the UK residential market and why it has an excellent future. Despite recent tax increases and global economic headwinds, the UK property market remains the #1 destination for UK overseas investors, expatriates, that's e-residents and international people. But why is the UK property market outperforming countries like France, Germany, continental Europe, and what can you expect if you invest in the UK in 2025? Simply put, the UK is the #1 market. Overseas buyers flock into the UK despite the turbulence. CBRE reports a net overseas investment of over 21 billion during the last 2 years, a period marked by high inflation, if you recollect, we were at 12% at one stage, rising interest rates and political instability. I mean, the UK, if you talk to people from the EU, a lot of clients I've got, it's a bit of a laughing stock because it's so badly organised. But despite that, the market is still recognised as one of the best in the world. CBRE's European Investor Intentions Survey confirms that the UK remains the market with the highest performance expectations, with residential property ranked as the most top asset class. In addition, we've got the start of a new property cycle, therefore new opportunities. Savills say we're now at the beginning of a new multi-year phase. We've got 23.4% house price growth forecast by them by 2029, 17.6% rental growth forecast by 2029 as well. So that's house price growth and rental. Fantastic.
Sorry to interrupt, but if you're enjoying this piece of content and would like to find out more about buying property and our key 10 steps to doing so, then pop your details in the link below somewhere and grab a copy of our book, 10 Steps to 10K, the Expat Property Playbook. Enjoy.
Fundamentals are clear. There's a chronic UK housing shortage. Remember the market up a few months back? We had 4.2 missing homes. Since the Town and Country Planning Act of 1947, 4.2 million too few homes have been built. The government has set an ambitious target of 370,000 new homes annually, but demand still exceeds supply by millions of homes, as seen in the PRS survey last week. And the UK government are already 50% behind because of the lack of labour availability. I think 60,000 people shortage in that area to finish those houses. That will continue to push property prices up and rental yields upwards. Political stability. I know it's hard to believe, but compare Labour with what we've had in the 2 previous administrations, and it's actually quite stable. Okay, inflation has come down to 2 to 3%. Bank of England suggesting it could fall below its target of 2% by year end. Interest rates are starting to fall. Spring budget actually avoided many negative issues it might have brought in, such as rent caps, increase in inheritance tax, change the capital gains tax on resident sales, additional surcharge on overseas buyers. So none of those are brought in, so it's quite user friendly. So we forget that. We're looking outwards in and we think, what a mess. But there's a lot of positive things going on in the UK, and other people who haven't got such a twisted view like we have in the UK, because we love to put ourselves down, see it and go, well, that's not so bad. And they do see London in rose-tinted spectacles. A lot of people see London as its cosmopolitan centre, which it is, but not if you're British. Often you think it was a bit of a dump, and to a certain extent it is in some areas. So stamp duty was increased. Now, surely that was a bad thing. Well, not really, because it's a long-term tax gain for the government. So they rise stamp duty a little bit, not so much, but what it means is that going forward they'll get a lot more revenue in the door, and they weren't seen as too aggressive with investors. So that's a very good thing. And what they will do is, okay, it increases it up front, but you look at how much property prices are going to go up, it's hardly anything if you're holding for 5 years plus. There may be more increases coming along the way, but we don't know that. But the government is saying that just the small increase they did signals they have confidence in the market, because they think house prices will increase and they will cover all their costs on the back of that. However, if you wanted to, you could not pay stamp duty at all if you go through a purpose-built student accommodation, PBSA. That's a way of doing it. Okay, falling borrowing costs. With inflation cooling, the Bank of England cut interest rates twice last year, as well as twice this year. Andrew Bailey has suggested more aggressive cuts may be on the horizon. As the rate fall, mortgage affordability improves. It's easier for people to get in. Overseas buyers to get in because they've got to pay a slightly bigger rate as being an overseas buyer. But it's a great time to lock it in now, okay, before prices accelerate up again. Finally, tax treatment for EU EEA nationals. Amazingly, it's the same as a UK national, okay? Absolutely unbelievable. You get the same tax allowances per annum as a UK national gets, so why would you not buy in when you're going to be taxed fully at home? It's a good buying opportunity. Why not buy in France? I'm doing a lot of work on France at the moment myself. You've got capped rents and declining prices. Rents are capped in the major cities by government legislation. The Rent Reference Index, the IRL, has limited increases to just 1.82% in Q1 2025. In 2024, during inflation times, they had a rental shield concept, which blocked it at 3.5%. And also, prices are falling. If you look at the major cities, prices are definitely going down year on year, 3.96% fall. The Superior Council of Notaries, which is what a lawyer is in France, projects a continued downturn with prices expected to drop a further 2.1% by year-end 2025. So capital appreciation and rental growth are weak. Investor upside is minimal. Why not try Germany? Germany is a great stable location. Again, same thing, government controls and market slowdown. In Germany, they have this thing called the Mietpreisbremse, rent control law, which limits new rents to no more than 10% above the local market trend. I have a German client, bless her, who said she had a letter from the German hate police, which she calls the government. They wrote to her and said, you can't have your rent on at 11.50, 9.50 is the average for that area. Could you consider dropping it? So you get the government writing to you saying that sort of thing. Not great. So they've got other things that stop markets going up. They've got rent caps of 20% increases over 3 years. In some areas, it's 15% in 3 years. Prices have dropped considerably, 10.2% in 2023, 2024. Transactions are 50% down year on year. Demographics are unfavorable, aging population, high in construction costs and planning delays are also issues. Urban rents are increasing, but these are the areas with the greatest caps. Berlin's 9.6% in 2024. Munich is the most expensive by far, and you've got Frankfurt after that, but all of them have got rental caps. Tight vacancy rates. Hamburg has got 0.2%. Affordability is worsening. The risk of stronger rent controls increases. That's the whole point, rent controls. If you look at Spain, you look at the Netherlands, they all have the same sort of thing. So rent controls are a big thing. They've introduced it in Scotland and it's not worked. Rents are going up by 15% there. That's why the UK is seen as a great place for foreign investors, and it's a great place for British investors to buy in. It's a good idea. Okay, some comments from this week. I worked away over the winter and home prices have noticeably shot up at the lower end in my area. Sometimes it's by 25%. It's disgusting. How can young people ever afford to get on the property ladder? And my example is from a cheaper area. Darnie 555. The answer is, it's because of the stamp duty changes. Because they were going to be increased for first-time buyers. A lot of first-time buyers have managed to get loans from somewhere and buy in. That's what's made the bottom end jump up. So it's actually the young people that are doing that and making it happen. So to a certain extent, it is a very bad thing. And it is a bad thing because the market itself is very squashed and skewed. But at least some people are getting in. Matty Evans, 2953 says, I heard the government are proposing a national insurance fee on landlords and an additional upped tax. Can you give any insight into this, or is it just a rumour mill? They would tax you, you can breathe if you can. Yes, in the August budget, there's talk that the Chancellor will add national insurance, they'll add capital gains tax, all sorts of things onto landlords to make them pay as much tax as working people do. Is it a good thing? Better than rental cap. And I think that's the important point, is rental caps would be a very bad thing. But as you see on the continent, they haven't worked. National insurance could be introduced. How they will monitor it, especially, for example, if you bought it through a SPV, how do they monitor that? That's makes it more likely you're going to do a single purpose vehicle company ownership structure. So yes, I think there's every chance it will bring those sort of things in. But I don't think it's going to be a high priority for them. I think they recognise they've got a golden goose and they don't want to cook it. Okay, finally, Dr. Sheffield, always waiting for this gentleman. Thank you. Well, that's great. It's a lovely thing to end on. I believe this is our 5th year, just ending now, of doing this. We started way back in COVID. Thank you very much for listening, for coming along for the journey, and hope you'll stay for many more years. Do share. If you get a chance, download our Expat Property Playbook because it's still a good read and we've still got copies left. Thank you very much. Cheerio.